Imagine a world where every fundamental key point in building a country, like business, politics, education, is not just guided by brilliant humans, but they're also guided by the sense of right and wrong within each and one of them. Now let's imagine the same thing, but instead of brilliant humans, we have superhumans, a level above. But they're just weighed down by one thing, is that they do corruption. How will the world become? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Good morning to all respected judges and distinguished guests. My name is Sanjaya. I'm an 11th grader from my Gading school, and today I'd like to talk about the importance of moral education. If we hear moral education, it's something you would learn in school, right? Especially from a young age. And that's true. It comes from a young age. You have to learn from a young age because it's the base on how someone's character can become. But why do I bring this up in the beginning of the speech? It's because moral education is kind of lacking in Indonesians. I'm not here to point any of you out. I'm just saying, if you are one of these people who kind of lack the moral education, maybe reconsider your doings and maybe you can become a better person because you're the reason why Indonesia is still full with people like you. But isn't Indonesia full of friendly people? Yeah, you can say that. Indonesia is full of friendly people. I was scrolling through my social media one day and I came across a video talking about Indonesia ranked third as one of the world's most friendliest countries. Could you believe it? I could, because Indonesians are friendly. But are they friendly for a good cause or for benefits only? We'll never know what's morally correct. But one thing we can all know from that is that moral education guides right behavior. But how do we know what the right behavior is? How do we know what we're doing is right or wrong? Well, in my way, I have two ways to teach someone moral education. First, we have the direct way. And second, we have the indirect way. Let's go with the direct way first. I'll just go straight to an example because it's way easier to understand. So in the first side, imagine you're out with your family. You want a toy. You see a fabulous toy on the shelf. And you ask your parents for it. Ma, Pa, can I get the toy? Diam kau lah, you bodoh. You understood, right? You couldn't get the toy. But do you really understand why you can't get the toy? Now let's go to the other side, the indirect way. Where the parents, instead of yelling at their child, same situation, but instead of yelling, they explain calmly, they explain softly. They explain in detail why you can't get the toy. Why is this better though? Is it better? Well, the kid understands you can't get the toy, for what reason. And then, most and foremost, is that they get good character from your parents. Good, right? But which way is actually better? Most people say the indirect way, and I do agree. But it's a balance between both worlds. Because we need a balance, right? If one side gets too heavy, it's not good. So, yeah, balance is important. But what's also important is keeping a balance with your education. But one thing that becomes a problem here is that the direct way is way too theory-based. You see that the parents instantly yelled at them. They just gave them why. They didn't explain why. They explained they couldn't get it, but they never explained why. The same thing, like in schools. A teacher explains all the formulas to one student, but they never understand how it actually works or why it's like this. Same thing for this. The kid never understood why they couldn't get the toy. Right? And that brings me to my next point, is that schools here have way too overloaded curriculums. I think all of you can relate in some way, especially if you've done high school here. They pack so many subjects into one small tight time schedule that it becomes unbearable. And what does that cause? Moral education just gets dropped down in importance. No one's gonna care about moral education, right? Because they want to prioritize biology, economics, or maybe geography, because they want to become a better person. They want to go into a good high school, or maybe a good college, for example. But the problem is, by dropping moral education, you don't know what's morally correct or what's morally wrong. For example, is it morally correct to copy your friend's answers on a test? No, right? Is it morally correct to copy your friend's answers in homework? Same thing. Is it correct? No, it's not. Same thing goes for teachers. Those teachers fail at teaching the students because they give up. And what? They fail the test, but the teachers still make them pass. Is that morally correct? No, right? I hope you learned something from my speech today. I hope you know what moral education actually means. And I hope deeply inside my heart is that all and each and one of you can learn to become better people. And I'll give an advice for the younger generation. True education doesn't just come from knowledge. It comes from the sense of doing right things when no one is watching. Thank you.